The charter in some organizations is called the project brief, project initiation document. In PMI, Project Management Institute, we call it the project charter. A charter can be a one-page document. It is usually signed. It can be filled by you, the PM, and then the sponsor or senior manager that gave you the project to work on, they would review it with you and sign it. If they do, fill out these documents. If they don't, then you should convince them to start using these. The benefit to a PM when you have charters is that there's a record of this one project. In a lot of organizations, the PMs would be busy on multiple projects, but nobody gives them enough credit for that. You need to track which projects you're working, small, big, which initiatives. Let them know you have 7 initiatives on your plate. Let them know you have 2 big ones. It depends, okay? But you need to have a record of these projects. And if you have a PMO should be tracking all of these projects. Your name should be against them. They should have an idea, the magnitude of each project, like by money or by time. It tells them how complex that project is. It's very important to actually keep track of this for your own good. Okay? Plus, whatever you put on this charter is a reference point for what they requested. So it's a document that is issued by senior management, provides you with the authority to use resources in the organization, for you to go around from door to door, not really begging, but asking for information or asking for support or resources or documents. It gives you the green light to actually start working on the project. But it has information in it, the charter. You cannot fill out a charter if you don't have information. So it's going to include high-level details of all the key objectives, like time, money, key milestones, who are the key players, key stakeholders, high-level scope, deliverables that they're expecting out of it, what assumptions they're making, or what limitations do we have. You could also include known risks as of that one point. It is produced and signed by the sponsor and the project manager. In some organizations, it's an IT system that the sponsor or business manager can type the request in, gets reviewed, approved, and then they would have had the PM's name and it will go out to them as you've been assigned on this one project. In other places, it's a form you have to fill out, send it to the boss that asked you to do this and say, could you sign it? In other instances, you're just getting an email that says, I want you to take over this. If that's the case, you still need to sit with the sponsor and to get the details. Sometimes the charter happens first. Actually, you get the request, you sit with them, and then you finalize this charter. If they give you a request to do something, but they didn't give you details, arrange for a time to sit with them and get details. If it's not them, it's somebody else that knows about the project. Because whatever you put into this becomes your responsibility. And what I have here is a couple of pages or a couple of slides that represent actually one page only, a one-page charter. And we will use this as an example for the move that we want to do, move project. So let's take a look at what goes into a project charter. And maybe you want to think about how similar it is to what you currently do. Number one, I have the title. So it says this is, in this instance, I'm using a very basic IT upgrade project, so this is the most basic thing you could find. Start date, because projects have a beginning and have an end. Notice it says projected finish date. This is when we think the project should finish, or maybe this is when management would like it to finish. Who is the PM? Kim, and that's the contact. It's all fake. Don't try to contact Kim. Kim will not respond. And then over here, the high-level objectives. These are the things that matter to us. Okay, upgrade hardware and software for all employees, about 2,000 of them. So you have to imagine an organization with 2,000 people having different equipment, laptop, printers, and other devices. And then we also have maybe connected systems that work on wireless and so on Bluetooth. So we want to upgrade them, the systems that they have, and the time frame that we've been given is within 9 months. So these are key things. That's the timeline. The 2,000 systems, that gives me a sense of scope based on new corporate standards. So this is the justification for why we need to do this. And usually when there's new corporate standards, they would have given you some handout that explains the new standard. And then we listed some risks here. Upgrades may affect servers, as well as associated network hardware and software. So we're talking about the risk. And then we have the budget, which is $1 million for hardware and software and $500,000 for labor costs. So this is the budget they have allocated to this specific project. So you see, in a very short space, very small space, I have lots of information sitting there. All right. So this here tells me a lot. The approach, this is really not important, but you could include the approach. To me, this is optional. This does not come from, PMI or PMP or something. And some organizations, they like to use their own approach. For example, use internal staff as much as possible, develop a detailed cost estimate for project and report it to the CIO. That's up to them if they have the following approach that they would like you to use, but that's optional. I will show you a different view. Myself, I like to use milestones, instead of approach. Roles and responsibilities. These are the key people associated with this project. Doesn't mean they are on your team. Doesn't mean they're going to work on anything for you. But it could mean that they will support you or they're related to the project within the organization one way or the other. So here in this instance, Walter Schmidt, he is the CEO and he is the sponsor of this project, meaning, doesn't mean he paid for it. It means that he is the one that asked for this one project to be done and the project was approved and so it was assigned to you. Mike Zwack, the CIO, he will monitor, that's what he's doing, he's monitoring the project. You, the PM, you will plan and execute the project. Jeff Johnson, Director of IT, will be a mentor to the project manager. And Nancy Reynolds, she is in HR and she will provide staff and issue memo to all employees. Mind you, if I have 2,000 employees that I need to engage with, I may need help from HR to send, departmental messages to say, for example, this floor will be upgraded or this office will be upgraded tomorrow. Make sure you do this. So you may need someone to be the in-between to assist you with this. Otherwise, good luck communicating to 2,000 employees. Steve McCann, he's Director of Purchasing and he's going to assist in purchasing hardware and software. So you see, these people are important for the project and I will need their support if I was managing this one project. That's why they're on the charter. Other things that we put on the charter will be, I want to get these people to sign for commitment, okay? I want them to go and sign if I can get them to sign. And this tells me they are committed to this one project. If they don't sign, they can always say, well, I didn't know about the project. But if they sign, it shows that they knew. So you want the sponsor, who in this case is Walter Schmidt, and any relevant stakeholders to sign it. Comments here are mainly assumptions and constraints. So this project must be done within 10 months at the absolute latest. So even though this is, if I go back, it's a 9-month project from March to December, they are giving you maximum 10 months. That means you have at least 1 month in case you got delayed. That's the most that they can tolerate. That's the limit. So that's a constraint on your project. And also here is an assumption. We're assuming that adequate staff will be available and committed to supporting this project. Some work must be done after hours to avoid work disruption. So here they're saying there's got to be adequate staff and we're going to allow for overtime. What if your boss signs it, but then later on you ask for work to be done after hours and they said, no, we can't do that? Well, that will affect your ability to deliver the project as planned. This is not a plan anyways, but this is their request. But if they agree to an assumption that you can use, after hours or overtime, or that you'll have enough resources committed, and those conditions are not met, then there's a good chance you will also not meet that, deadline that you were given. So it is important in charters that we also put the assumptions. Now, for us to learn about the charter, I have for you a project charter example that I think is better than what shows over there. So this is an example of a charter in Microsoft Word. This is a little more than a page until you fill it up, then it fills up even more. So what I have in it are a few sections: project title, project ID. You can put an ID, it's up to you. Maybe that's how we track them later on. If the PMO wants to give a project, every project its own ID, they can do that. And also in the ID, they could use letters to identify what type of project also. And then the start dates, the end date that we're expecting, the budget, who's the PM. And you see, I don't have approach. I have scope, high-level scope, and pieces of it, like scope includes this, and these are the key milestones with their dates. When do I think these steps should be completed? Who are the key players, key stakeholders? Why are they a key stakeholder here? So for example, let's say, in that example, what was his name? Schmidt, Walter Schmidt. Okay, so in that case, Walter Schmidt, he is the sponsor, like that. And then Ed is the PM, things like that. So these are the key players in this one project. What are the risks that we know of? Mind you, you wouldn't have done your risk assessment then. It's just high-level risks that we are aware of. And then what assumptions are we making, like over time in that example? What constraints do we know of, limitations, time frame? Maybe sometimes they tell you you can only use your own resources, or, for example, no hiring from outside, things like that. So this is what a charter is. And what we're trying to do is do a move. We have a move. We want to move from one building to another. We have 100 employees. And so that's really going to become our project. And there will be details. Some things we can make up, the budget. Let's say I can specify the budget. We have, let's say, $20,000 is the budget. And let's say I need it done by end of August. So let me just put August. Maybe 23rd is good. 2020 needs to be completed. And maybe I'm giving you the project for July 5th, 2020. And so this is all the time you have. You have maybe a month and a half to complete the move on a budget of $20,000. If you need more, you'll have to tell me. And the PM is you, right? And you need to put some details on the move. So what should the title of our move project be? I'm gonna write move of 100 workstations, because I am assuming we have 100 workstations. Move of office, 100 workstations. Building A to building B. And to complicate things, the buildings will not be in the same location. Okay, so you'll have to move them by truck to make it complicated. Now, the reason I want to put how many workstations and be more detailed, more specific in the title, is that if I was a PMO and I was saving, an Excel sheet with all the names of the project and who's assigned, the name of the project should tell me enough information about what this is. If we just say move, we may not really know until we click on it to read more details. But I just want the title to speak on its own a little bit. All right, so this is what we need, and I'm going to create an ID. I'm just going to make something up. This is our project ID, assuming, and you may leave that blank if the PMO puts the ID on it. And I'm assuming the project is being assigned to me today, finishing by August 23rd. This is what they want. They've given me $20,000. Mind you, the 100 workstations all need to be dismantled. Everything has to be packed. We will do some, but the movers will do others. And they have to unpack and set it up over there. I'm going to be the PM. or whoever you are, you'll be the PM. Now the scope, if we are doing this, a full move, and they want us to move everything, then it's going to include a lot more than just simply taking stuff from one place to another. All right. So I actually have a ready template. So I'm just going to copy it here, just a piece of it. Move of workspaces and personal things for 100 employees from building A to building B. And the scope will include, what do you think might be in the scope? Do you think we will have to set up the IT network at the new location? Well, it depends, right? You see, you can't really tell. I was asking you a trick question because you wouldn't know until you sit with your boss or the sponsor and ask them, what are they expecting, right? Once you sit with them, the session that we discussed before, like meet and get the details. In that details that you get, you will understand if that's what they want you to do. If it's just pack, get a mover to carry it and just oversee it and make sure the movers unpack it there with no damage and that everybody is able to work on their laptop successfully, okay, maybe that's your responsibility. But there's a good chance you need to ensure that the setup over there works in the new location. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. Okay, you'll go there and find out that the network's not working, there's not enough electrical outlets where they need to be, and so there could be a lot of responsibilities. So assuming you've met and talked to the sponsor or whoever's asking you to do this, and you got details, I have an imagination of what they may be looking for. So I'm just going to copy these over. There you go. So maybe after we met with them and discussed, we found out that they want us to set up the IT network at the new location, set up partitions. Doesn't mean I have to physically do it, but I need to make sure it's done because they are partitions. Pack all personal belongings in boxes and seal it here. Wrap all furniture. Again, it doesn't mean I have to do it, but this is part of our responsibilities. Arrange for a vehicle to do the move. Move all items to the new location and unpack and set up there. Test all electrical and network connections over there and provide on-site monitoring for 5 days after the move, maybe IMIT or facilities, until we are ready to actually operate fully. So you see, you will not get this scope unless you sat down with all the prospective people there and understood their expectations. So this would be a good project, right? Do you think this is an easy project, or could you really look bad if you mismanage this? I think some very important people could really be upset at you if you don't manage this well. And I usually like to use this as an example because I can think of risks, I can think of quality and safety standards, or even other standards, fire and safety, trip hazards, things like that. I can think of damage that could happen along the way. There are many things that could go wrong. Scheduling, you have now until then to actually take care of this. So can you think if they want you to finish this by August 23rd, starting today, which is, I don't know, 1 month and 18 days, right? So a month and a half, basically, 6 weeks. What would be some key milestones that I could put that if I show my management, they would feel good about me leading this project? I have work that I've done before. This is what I've done before. All packing will be complete by a specific date. Move date is this. This is when I expect the move date to happen. Unpacking and setup complete, similar to what we have here. All network and electrical connections testing. On-site technical support period will begin at that point, and on-site technical support period will end. Move will be complete by then. So there's a 5-day period that they want us to do oversight for. So these are some key milestones maybe that management will care about. Maybe management only wants to know when everything is set up over there. I think we need to add one more here. Let's say construction set up at new location. Because they need to make sure we're physically done with that part. And then we can unpack and set up everything. like the equipment that we took. Then we need to test everything, but I don't know if these should have been tested. So new office technical testing. So you follow where I'm going with this. It's how we do milestones. We think all packing should be complete by then. New office technical testing will complete. Maybe we also need to figure out when, like the new layout plan complete. And these are going to be tasks eventually. So when will the layout plan be complete? Otherwise, I may put the boss next to the bathroom and he may not be happy, who knows. And I'll pick, mine to be like the nice view. Because if it's up to me, that's what I will do. So by when should packing be done? When will the layout? Management wants to know when your layout is done. Have we checked the other place? When is the actual move date? When is the construction at the other side done? But maybe, I don't know if this is too much information for management to put 2 lines. Maybe they want to know when everything is done over there, and then they want to know when everything is tested, and so on. But that's the idea of creating milestones. You want to put all these, you want to put dates against them. The move should be before, let's see, unpacking and setup complete. We want everything done by August 23rd, right? So all network and electrical connections are tested and on-site technical support period ends by August 23. And that means the move is completed by then and people can function normal. And all packing should be completed. I don't know, when should we move? We should move end of July and then do everything else there. What do you think? July 31st. Obviously, we're just putting a sample here, 2020. We do the move. This one is 23rd. All right. And in between, we need to figure dates. What would be reasonable dates to complete things? And so those are the milestones that we have to complete. And then key stakeholders. Who do you think the key stakeholders are? Who would be the sponsor here? Or who would have asked for the move? It's usually a CEO, right? Or the boss. Mind you, here, the key stakeholders, these are people who are internally participating in this whole process. They're not necessarily managing it, or they're not the ones carrying the furniture. This is my ready-made one that I've filled out before. Mine was a 2-week move, but in this case, we're using 6 weeks. But you see, HR, safety, facilities. So now let's move into potential risks. What things could go wrong? On my sheet, I have the following: damage to equipment, resources not available on date of move, utility connection problems at new building, network and computer issues after move. Let's think of assumption and constraint, and we'll call it a day. What assumptions are we making? You know what assumptions are? Conditions you expect to be there, without which, you could result in failure. We will be expecting what? Maybe you want to assume that employees participate in packing their things. Also assuming that there are available movers. And we're assuming all will be well at new offices. And we know very well that that's not the case. There's a correlation between assumptions and risks. When an assumption doesn't happen, it becomes a risk to you. You're assuming that IT will support the move. Otherwise, we can't really do it. And also facilities will be free, but they have to be. I mean, we're moving out of there. What would they do? What are they going to do? We're also assuming no issues with, we mentioned it before, but we shouldn't really duplicate it like this. This part, logistics issues, no issues with new office lease or paperwork, because sometimes these will stand in the way. So that could be problematic. Constraints, maybe deadline of August 23rd is hard. I don't know, hard deadline. So we cannot really go beyond that. No extension. Okay. I don't know what other constraints we have. If they, let's say they want you to use a specific mover company, okay. Okay, budget is fixed and cannot be, oops, and cannot be increased. That's what fixed is. Anyways, so we just wrapped up the project charter. And if you feel this is okay to you, then you know how to develop a project charter. Once you do this, you need to get your boss to sign it, review it, give you the okay on it, let them sign off. All the key stakeholders need to be aware that you put them there as key stakeholders, and that way, they'll be there to help you when you need their help. The milestones are not going to be a full plan. You should put some dates here. Only think about some key milestones to your boss. Put some key milestones there. They are not a final plan. You will get the final plan when you do your scheduling, all right? But this is just a high level indication so your boss knows. Also here, over here, you are telling them what you think you're responsible for in the scope of work. So although this is not the full scope statement, it does indicate high level what you understood from them they want you to do, right? That's why you write this one. And this one shows that you know how much money, the time frame, and so on. So by completing a charter, you have clearly defined the objectives of what this project is. The next steps will be to go from here, figure out what team you need, identify your stakeholders. From stakeholders, we fill out the stakeholder register, then have a kickoff meeting, and that's it. We go into planning.